Hello. Again, I'm Alexis Miller, and I'm married to Michael Miller, and I've been happily married for 6.5 years. During that time, I've struggled with infertility, and it put a strain on our relationship at times and our faith. In 2014, I went to my doctor in Crown Point to help us start our family. After much tests and procedures, my doctor told me that there was nothing else he could do and recommended I look into in vitro fertilization, also known as IVF. For the next 1.5 years, we went to other specialists, and again, we had many tests done and had the same conclusions. I was devastated. The medical bills were piling up, and I felt like I was getting nowhere. I was struggling with depression and struggling in my faith. Friends, family members, and others my age were starting their families and then having multiple children, while I struggled to have any. I prayed so hard to be a mom, or for God to take away my desire to be a mom if it wasn't going to happen. I didn't want to go to church at times or different family functions because I was so tired of getting asked when I was going to have a baby, or at times being told, you got to catch up. I know that those comments and questions were just innocent, and they weren't meant to be painful or malicious. But there are only so many fake smiles and shrugs you can do before it really starts to eat at you. We even talked about joining a different church just to avoid some of this. I had to remind myself a lot every day that I was able to wake up breathing, and that I had a great job, a wonderful husband, and we were both healthy. I felt so guilty for being so angry about not being able to get pregnant. I prayed so often for God to forgive my jealousy and my pettiness. And boy, am I glad that we have a gracious and forgiving God. It came to a point where Mike and I needed a new plan. We decided to prioritize our faith, and while praying, we felt that God was leading us towards adoption. In 2016, we were researching adoption agencies and speaking to friends that we knew that had adopted. I remember the day we met with Bethany Christian Services. I felt like we were finally getting somewhere, and I remember thinking, this is it. A day after we met with Bethany Christian Services, a friend asked us to dinner. During dinner, we discussed our fertility struggles, and they talked about some of their experiences. And then they introduced us to a different fertility treatment known as embryo donation. For those of you that don't know, embryo donation is where embryos that are left over from an IVF are turned over to another couple to use for them to get pregnant. We were blown away by the idea of us being able to experience being pregnant. But at the same time, we thought that we just started a new journey with Bethany. So we prayed hard, and we prayed a lot for God to guide us towards the plan that we were supposed to be doing. In February 2017, we met with the clinic and we started our embryo donation process. Mike and I continue to pray daily and read the Bible. In February 2018, we read the Passion Story, and we came across Matthew 26:39, and it really stood out to us. Going a little further, he fell with his face in the ground, and he prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." I remember praying, "Lord, please make me be pregnant, but if it isn't your will, point me towards what you want me to do." A few weeks later, Jim gave a sermon on praying for God's will. During that same time, we were in a small group for Crazy Love, and we were talking a lot about praying for God's will. And at once, I finally felt like we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. In March 2018, we picked our embryos, and on April 30th, 2018, we were implanted with 2. According to the clinic statistics, I had a 63% chance of being pregnant and a 10% chance of being pregnant with twins. Last year on Mother's Day weekend, on May 12th, I found out I was pregnant. Later on in the month, I found out I was pregnant with twins. Ethan and Evelyn were born on November 20th, 2018, and we were successful on our first round of IVF with their donated embryos. Looking back, I was so focused on my plan that I didn't see God's plan for me. It wasn't until I handed everything over to God that I finally saw everything falling into place. I had a stronger relationship with God, a better relationship with my husband, and I developed new, valuable friendships. God has blessed me beyond my imagination, and especially with 2 babies.